Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dr. Jones again. And today we're going to pick up our conversation of how matter is cycled through an ecosystem, going from our producers, which are plants, to our consumers, which are animals. Now, as we do each week, we have to start with the standards. Now, this time, unlike before, we're going to pivot away from our discussion of cellular respiration and photosynthesis to the actual organisms that carry on these processes. So, if you're looking at our middle school standard, the thing that I want you to see or draw your attention to is that we're really looking at food chains and food webs, okay? And we're looking at how matter is cycled through these two different scenarios. If we look at high school, we get even deeper in the discussion, and now we're really looking at, okay, so how does energy get from the sun to organisms based on the type of organism that's bringing in that energy? In addition to, as we have here, looking at the trophic levels or feeding levels in an ecosystem. Now, there's a lot there, but just stay with me. We're going to go over it in a second. So, let's recap. Remember, photosynthesis. What is it? Well, again, photo meaning light. The synthesis meaning to put things together. So we're using light again to combine atoms to give us molecules. Now, the main molecule that we're trying to, or that photosynthesis creates, are carbohydrates, these sugar molecules. Okay? Now, when we move on to cellular respiration, remember, when we talk about respiration, don't think breathing. What you want to think of is using oxygen to produce carbon dioxide, and more important, to take this energy that's in the form of a sugar molecule and convert it to ATPs, which is like the currency of a cell, okay? Again, it is like, this is your job, that's your money, and you're going to need your money to be able to do all the things that you want to do. So again, for us to do everything that we need, we have to take in energy. The energy that we're talking about right now is sugar, and that sugar being glucose. Okay? Now, how does cellular respiration and photosynthesis depend on each other? And they do. One of the things I want to show you is that if you look at the two reactions, this one being photosynthesis, and then this one being cellular respiration, you can see the product of photosynthesis is really the reactant of cellular respiration. And the reactant of photosynthesis is the product of cellular respiration. So that gives us a cyclical pattern, okay? So those are the things that we've already talked about. The other thing is, who carries on photosynthesis? And like I said here, do all organisms or do all life on this planet go through photosynthesis? No. You have to have chlorophyll. And as we said, you find chlorophyll in your plants, you find chlorophyll in some of the protists, and you actually can find chlorophyll like this in some bacteria. Now, the other side of this, cellular respiration. Do all organisms go through cellular respiration? Well, actually, no. Not all organisms, but all eukaryotes. And again, I know you're like, wait a minute, eukaryotes. Let me break it down. Eukaryotes, we're talking about plants, animals, fungi, I must say the corny dad joke, fungi, and then protists. Now, do not get protists confused with bacteria. Main thing you need to understand is a protist, single-celled organism, but it has a nucleus. Bacteria don't have a nucleus, so that's why they're not invited to the party. No nucleus, no nachos. So, which organism starts this whole process? And that's what we're going to be talking about today, okay? So, first of all, let's look at some people. Producers, for example. This guy, Quincy Jones. He's a producer. You definitely know what he does, right? Makes music, right? How about this guy? Rest in peace, Biggie. Sean Puffy Combs, Dr. Dre, and another one, DJ Kelly. But here's another producer. Yeah, that's a producer too. So here's a question. What do all these producers have in common? I mean, let's be real. Why is it that I put this on the screen and I am literally showing you guys who make music with plants? Here's why. So every time somebody would tell me that, this guy's a producer, or I need to get a producer, my question was, what do you need a producer for? So I had to actually look this up, because it's not like, something that you just know off the top of your head. So here's what producers do. First of all, producers, they choose a song. All right? Yeah, I just said producers. Yeah, producers choose a song. Besides that, they choose all of the instruments, the musicians. Who's going to play it? Who's on drums? Who's playing bass? They choose the instruments and who's on vocals. Everybody that can play can't sing. Everybody can sing can't play. Michael Jackson, for instance. Nope, can't do it. Prince, there you go. How will the instruments be played? One of the things that I found with Prince, rest his soul, is that if you go to a Prince concert, or used to, can't do it now because he's dead, but when you did, if you went on Monday night, you'll hear a completely different set than on Tuesday night. Why? Because he decided, I didn't like the way that the drummer was playing, we're going to do this a little different. I didn't like the guitarist, we're going to do this a little different. The other thing is what songs are going to be sung and what notes are going to be sung. When you're going to, put tracks on the album, what needs to go on the album. And the most important one is when you're going to drop the album. So basically, when you look at the producer, they bring life to the entire project. Now let's talk about this plant. Producers, what do? First of all, they collect water for photosynthesis. Next, they collect carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. Then they collect light energy from the sun for photosynthesis. So first of all, they're getting everything together just like this. You got to get, instruments, the melody. That's what they do. Then they take all of that and they create the molecule, the sugar molecules we're talking about, from the photosynthetic process. All of this, now we have a song. They release oxygen, because, let's be real, they're not the only ones on the planet, through the photosynthetic process. And then the most important thing is they take some of that sugar that they created and they use it to live throughout the night. Now, here's why that is so important. The sun doesn't shine all the time. So, if plants couldn't have a way of making their own energy, they would die. Producers have to have money. Here's why. Just because you make a song doesn't mean that the song's going to make money. Somebody has to be the front man. So, these cats front the cash. Now, they're going to get paid on the back end, but you need somebody to front the money. You need an organism that can make its own energy when the sun is not around. And that's kind of what producers, plants do. Okay? And then they go and restart the process all over again. You're not a producer if you just produce one song, one album. That ain't a producer. No, it's not. Honestly, at first, I'm going to tell you, I did not consider Lil Wayne as a producer. All he had was just, Young Money. Now he's actually having other people do some things. I still don't count him as a producer, but he's on his way. And if you're watching Wayne, don't come looking for me. We good? 504, love you for life. All right. Now, as far as what the producer does for the ecosystem, the producer dictates the ecosystem. Here's what I'm saying. If you're looking at the various ecosystems, you can see some of them have producers who are more complex, more complicated than others. Okay? Look at this. Mountain range. Mountain range. What's the difference between the two? This one, no producers, no life. This one, producers, life. Let's look at another one. Swimming pool. This, koi pond. What's the difference? No producers, no life. Producers, life. Last one. Moon. Earth. What's the difference? Producers. So here's what I want you to understand. If you don't have a producer, you have no life. Okay? All right. Now, how does a producer control what's in the ecosystem? So look at this. Remember the show? Everybody should. The Voice. When it first came out, each of these characters or each of these folks served a different purpose. Here's what I mean. If you want to do rock, go to Adam. If you wanted to do country, gotta be on Team Blake. If you want to do R&B, CeeLo is your person. And if you're trying to get that pop in your life, bam, Christina Aguilera. Just like these stars or these artists kind of guided the folks in the show, producers guide their ecosystem. Here's what I'm talking about. These are all terrestrial ecosystems, okay? But a mountain range is a completely different ecosystem than a tropical rainforest. But what is the difference between the two, besides the amount of water, is the organisms, the plants, the thing that actually gets the light and converts it into sugar for the entire system. If you look at mountains, you have like simple ground cover, and you can kind of see this, It basically looks like I went out, threw green paint on the ground and was like, okay, good. If you think about a rainforest, you think about the types of trees, how big they are, the amount of green life that you have here, you will see, okay, I get it. Now, here's the take home. Little life, little ecosystem. Meaning, you don't have that many organisms here because if you look at it, it's simple ground cover. Very simple system. But here, in a tropical rainforest, you have these complex plants, which means you can have a complex system. It's just like producers. If you have a producer that doesn't have a whole lot of money, you're going to be like, back in the day when I was living in New Orleans, before Lil Wayne became Lil Wayne, he was with Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh still lives in New Orleans. And again, Manny, we're good. But Manny's small time. He's a little bit bigger now, but then he was small time. So the only way that you could get Lil Wayne stuff and Hot Boy stuff was to go to the local stores. But if you think about like Puffy at the same time, Bad Boy, you could buy his stuff everywhere. So again, simple organisms, simple plants, simple system. Complex organisms, complex system. Okay? Now, this doesn't just go for terrestrial systems. If you look at your aquatic systems, it's the same thing. Now, here's the thing, and this is why this is here. If you look at an aquatic ecosystem, you got other things to take into consideration. And that's the main reason why when we talk about ecosystems, we tend to deal with terrestrial ones that are on land. Because when you start talking about freshwater, marine water, transitional, yeah. But the bottom line is, in all three of these, the plants guide the system. Okay? So, here's a question that I have for you, and this is where we're going to be going in our next segment. Now that we have the plants, now that we have the producers, now what? Basically, who's eating who? I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.